Hey everybody, it's Dave, and of course this is my trusty sidekick Bo, who is really tired. It's been another hot day here in Southern California, so I'm just going to go ahead and walk through the garden without her. Maybe she'll join us later. So one of the things right now that's blooming really well is this Mandevilla vine, and this is something that's going to bloom pretty much all warm weather, probably beginning in Southern California as early as April, going on all the way through October. So a good 6 months of bloom. It is related to Mandevilla, and it's really a terrific plant for the yard. It does get its usual aphids and such in the early part of the spring, but that's really the worst problems you're going to have with it. But striking flowers, great for the heat, and a very fast growing vine as well. Grows up about 12 to 15 feet. Other than that, around here, we do have the Pink Breath of Heaven, looking good. It is up, trained as a standard. There's a few blooms right now, off blooms, but this will bloom more as we get into the winter time. But really lacy foliage, very disease resistant, great plant for the yard. The magnolia tree looks fantastic. It doesn't even have any real burns to the edges, although I will show you some on the other magnolia that I've got in the back, the Elizabeth, the yellow flowering variety. And not much else to do with that one right now. For a date stamp, today is August the 16th, 2024. And we've had a nice mild week for August. Low 90s every single day, but it's supposed to jump up next week, a few days, right around 100 degrees. So hopefully that'll be the end of our summer, although our Septembers can be pretty hot here as well in the Inland Valley. The zinnias really have done terrific this year, and this was something I just threw in here last minute, didn't even think about it, and they've really taken off. They've done so much better than I expected them to. Definitely better than the Calibrachoa that I put in. You can also see the Isotoma did pretty well as far as the spreading goes for a few months that it's been growing so far. The lavenders in the back, they did not make it. They have been here about 6 years, and I cut them back every single year, and this year it was just I think a little bit too much for them, and I probably did it a little bit too close to summertime. So they'll be replaced, probably a couple other lavender, because this is a reflected heat wall, but you know, it is always something in the garden. Can't do it perfectly all the time. And in the back here, a beautiful dwarf Eugenia. Over in this area here, got the creeping geranium, beautiful conifer, a few more blooms left on the plumeria there. It's great because you do have that fragrance. All the echinacea, pretty well done now. The last bloom on the daylily there. Orchids on a sphagnum moss. Be heading down to Andy's Orchids again shortly. They will be having their annual open house. Gosh, I think it is in about 4 more weeks, about mid-September is when they hold that. And if I remember, I will put the dates of that in the description box below. They do an open house twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. Beautiful mirror plant in the back. Euphorbia against the tree. Lots of Dahlia foliage or rabbit's foot fern. My apologies for the glare of the sun. I'm doing this later in the day. It's been a very, very busy week. School is starting up, and I am trying to get all my classwork together. So that the early part of the semester goes pretty smoothly. This week, we always have our meetings prior to the semester beginning. Variegated scented geranium. But take a look at that columbine back here. That's done really, really well. Pomegranate. And here on the Elizabeth magnolia, you can definitely see the scorching marks. This is really common with magnolias, at least the Solangiana variety, starting about August 15th, which was yesterday for us, but it's not uncommon for it to start a week before, week after. It's just, this is the time period. Some of the leaves will be untouched. A lot of people bring the leaves into the nurseries and like, what's wrong with my plant? There's nothing wrong. It's just very physiological with the plant. Same thing with the burning on some of these Japanese maples. It's just something that's going to be very common, very indicative of the plant itself. It's not a disease. It's not a fertilizer deficiency. All it is just the weather. And that is a Pittosporum tenuifolium variegated. Has done really, really well. Also have another one here. I planted it later, probably about 6 months later, but this one has definitely done really well. Above it, the Disigothica, and off to the left here, that is the Chinese fringe tree, which really has, it's such a cool plant, and especially if you look at my videos in the early part of spring, late February, early March, you'll see it in bloom, and it's got this beautiful white fringe flower to it. Over here, we've got another Japanese maple. This one I've been really pleased with how it has laced out. I did do some pruning on it when I got it in the winter time. It was one of those trees at Home Depot that came in as a bulk shipment, and in SoCal they've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now. And this one, it was a little bit on the pricey side, about $110. It was a 7-gallon container, and it had about double the amount of stems here. And I just went through, found something that had a nice skeleton, and then I thinned the rest of the branches out. So that's really kind of what you want to look for. And that's something we'll talk about more as we get into the winter time as well. The ferns and the Japanese grasses, looking good, holding up. We'll head off to the rose garden. Just finished some watering. Again, this is a much later in the day video than I normally shoot. I like to shoot in the mornings, but I'm incapable of doing that today. But look at all these blooms now on this false heather. This is a white false heather. Normally they're pink, so if you order false heather, it's pink. But this one is a white one, and I did it all the way around the border here on this particular bed. This rose, Ingrid Bergman. We've got a few sterling silver coming up. Sunrise, sunset. And I'm probably been doing these videos now for close to 2 years. I still can't remember the name of this red variety. It is a German name. I just can't remember it. Got it at a $4.99 bargain bin at Home Depot when they were selling roses that did not have patents. Which brings up another good question. What is a rose patent, or even a general plant patent? So, 1933, we have the Plant Patent Act, and it allows growers 17 years to grow their plants, and if someone else produces this plant in the first 17 years, they have to pay the originator of the patent money. After 17 years, it's a free-for-all. Anyone can produce the plant. So you'll see patent versus non-patent varieties in roses. It doesn't mean a thing at all, except that it deals with the age of the rose. 17 years and younger, they're patented. 18 years and older, they don't have a patent. The thing you have to keep aware of when you buy roses, and this is primarily during the winter time, so I'll remind you about it again, is the grade. Grade 1 roses is 3 strong canes. Grade 1.5 rose is 2 strong canes. And so the numbers as they go up, the quality, I shouldn't even say quality, the age of the plant goes down. So if you're looking at a grade 1 rose, you're probably looking at something that's been in the ground 3 to 4 years, grade 1.5, about a year less. So that's just a couple things to keep in mind if you are buying roses online or at home goods stores and you're not familiar with the language. There are leafcutter bees this time of year. I'm going to show you the damage of that. You have these beautiful, perfect geometric circles on the leaves. This is a leafcutter bee. There are certain varieties of roses that this attacks. It can attack this one here and not touch this rose over here. It's just per variety. And I remember especially like the celebrity variety rose, which is a yellow, it attacks those all the time. So leafcutter bees are harmless. They are single insects rather than bees that live in like a hive or a group. And it's really cool what they do, from what I understand, and this is years ago when I was in school, is that they'll bite one part of it, they'll turn their body around, and that's what slices out the circle. So anyway, that is leafcutter bee damage. Is there anything to do? No, it's a little unsightly, but it's never anything that's going to harm the plant, and they're not interested in harming you. I spent a little bit of time out here yesterday and the day before cleaning out the bearded iris that we had cut back a few weeks ago. And again, right now we're mid-August, so I'm glad I got started on this early. I still have a lot of irises to go. This is a type of cedar, Pittosporum and Coprosma. And again, you can kind of see all the weeds that I pulled out, and I even cut back the catmint, which is right back here. And of course, I'm sure I spurred on the hot weather because of that. Over here, this is the berberis or barberry. You do want to be careful with that. It does have thorns. And then a lot of new growth on the yew. Let's take a quick look around, see if there's anything else blooming. Mostly everything else is done now for the time being. All the lilies are done. This is Garden Party, which of course I always sing the Ricky Nelson song when I see this rose in bloom. Tournament of Roses did not do as well this year as it has in the past, which has made me kind of sad. But this is normally a really great, very prolific rose in terms of its blooms. You can see a few dead blooms just finishing up now on the Casablanca lily. But we had about two or three good weeks of that. This is almond bush. Aloysia is the botanical name, and it's also the same family as the lemon verbena. A very subtle, light scent. You do have to be up to it to smell it, but it is very, very sweet. And it does get fairly large, so about 12 to 15 feet tall. So kind of a small tree you can train it as. That is my goal, because unfortunately, as we saw with this tree over here, it's kind of died off. So this tree is going to be removed. The next tree I put in is actually going to be a little bit more off here to the left, and that'll give us more room for the almond almond bush to grow. Again, not a whole lot going on. We still have a lot of lamb's ears filling in. The dahlia didn't do as good as it did last year, so that's probably something that'll be needing to be replanted every year. This is the chocolate cosmos. This is looking good, and it also smells good. It does smell like chocolate. And that rose is Margaret Merrill. And I think that is everything I wanted to show you this week. I have a little bit more gardening to do, a little bit more watering, and I'm also going to take you to a couple more websites for bulbs, because this is the time of year to order them and get them in. So we're going to take a look at Schreiner's iris bulbs. We're also going to look at Color Blend. All right, hey everybody, this is the first of the two sites we're going to go to today, and this is Color Blend's nursery. They specialize in flower bulbs. They have fields in the Netherlands. This is an old-time company that ships out of Connecticut, and definitely the old part of Connecticut. They're just a couple miles in from the Atlantic Ocean, and they have, as they advertise, wholesale prices on their material. They only ask for a $60 minimum order. And they really got a great site. It's really easy to navigate. And I was on here the other day, just kind of a wholesale vibe rather than a boutique or specialty type of nursery like we've seen with White Flower Farms or Bluestone Perennials. When we click on like the tulip bulbs, this is all the kind of main types of tulips you can get. We'll take a look at the Darwin tulips here. And still a pretty nice variety of things. Some mixes already created for you. And let's take a look at this one here. It's kind of got a nice color to it. Lots of great information, lots of great pictures. This has been the best as far as pictures go from any of the sites we've been to. What I really like about them as well is they do sell bulk. You're not looking at a handful of tulip bulbs here, like 6 or 12. Their minimum is usually 25, and you can see down here right from the pricing, it's 25 to 75, 68 cents a bulb. So you're looking at $17 for the first few batches. When you get up to 100, it automatically cycles down to 43 cents a bulb. So about half of what we were looking at more of the specialty types of growers. And really, it's just a fantastic site, lots of information, cross tie-in to other bulbs that you may be interested in. We're going to zip back out to their site one more time and take a look at some of the hyacinths. We'll look at the pure white one here. And again, you're looking at 88 cents a bulb compared to $1.40, $1.50 that we saw recently. And again, when you get over 100, drops down to 79 cents a bulb. So if you're doing a large landscape, 1,000 bulbs or more is possible through Color Blends. So that's really cool, especially if you've got some property or you plan on giving a lot of these away, friends, family, neighbors, and such. So again, I haven't purchased from them myself. I am going to do that though this year and see how they are. I have had a friend buy from them, and they did terrific as well. For the indoor bulbs, I am going to showcase the Paper White Narcissus. Of course, those are really fragrant. From the time you plant them to the time they bloom is about 6 weeks. $1.08 a bulb, but if you buy more than 100 bulbs, it goes down about 25-30%, down to 80 cents a bulb. So again, a really good choice of plant to grow during the winter time, and even to get 25 bulbs for $27 is really a good deal. So now I'm going to take you to the other site that we're going to talk about this week. All right, our second of our two websites we're going to today is Schreiner's Irises. And this is a name that's synonymous with absolutely beautiful bearded irises. They have them in several categories. They have the tall bearded iris, which can get as high as 48 inches, but the average is about 36 inches. We have some intermediate bearded iris and then some dwarf. So we have about 400, about 30, and then about 100. So literally 450 iris types. It's just amazing. They also sell daylilies, and they have about 100 varieties of daylilies as well. And quite honestly, this is something I wish I had more room to grow, is because all the different varieties of bearded iris is really incredible. Once again, you're looking at a wide range of prices, so be careful what you order. Something like Gypsy Lord here, $12.50 a bulb. That's about average, but when you look at some of the varieties, You Grow Girl is $42 a bulb, and some of their new varieties are as much as $65 a bulb. An incredible sum of money for just an iris, right? There's so many different varieties anyway to choose from, and this is one of the places I would also check out on YouTube. While they don't produce their own videos, there's a lot of people who have visited Schreiner's Iris Gardens, and you can see these out in the landscape, and they're really stunning to see. And there's some of them are really beautiful. And for me, bearded iris have this incredible scent that when they bloom in May, it's one of those things that I remember at the end of the school year. So it's kind of a very happy type of smell, if you will. And again, just an incredible variety of bearded iris. Much better than just the purple ones that populate my yard. Other ones, we'll take a look at some of the daylilies here as well. And once again, daylily varieties are incredible. This one I enjoyed here, Roswell, which of course a lot of us are fans of Art Bell, and of course we always say Roswells, and it's just a really cool bearded or really cool daylily. You can see a lot of the different colors here, and they do range in price. Normally websites are going to have their real common daylilies around the $14 to $16 price range. Even $18 I think is a fair price to ask for these. Once you start looking at some of the possibly newer varieties, like this one here is really quite beautiful, it does run $36 for I don't know if you would call it a bunch. They call it 2 branches here, but again, that's a pretty pricey amount for a bulb. They talk about the parentage, the color, bloom time, fairly new bulb, or plant, so it's about 5 years as far as production goes here. They'll give you a height. Not a whole lot of pictures, just a couple on this, but again, just a old-time nursery and great quality plants. They are up in Oregon, so they're just north of me, just north by a few hundred miles. But again, just someplace I would check out if you're looking to add some really cool things to the garden. All right, that was everything. Bo and I wish you a very happy week of gardening, and we will see you next week with another video.